Hello there friendos, Newbornkilik here welcoming you to the first chill chat. Today we're going to be talking about a little game called Tunic, clearly inspired by the retro Zelda games. Is it good? Is it a flop? Well, let's look at what we have. In Tunic, you take control of this little fox kind of guy who just washes up on the shore, which is, to the astute Zelda fans, pretty familiar for a beginning. But that is, in fact, because this is pretty much a love letter to the older Zelda games. Think A Link to the Past, or any of those older kind of, bird's eye view games. In the background, you'll be seeing some gameplay from a stream that we did a little while ago of this game, of course. I should go ahead and just mention, I have not yet completed the game, but I'm very eager to get back into it. As I mentioned before, at the beginning of Tunic, you find yourself washed up on shore in a strange land. Interestingly enough, you can't even understand the signs or anything around. You're given absolutely no direction at the very beginning. You are completely free to explore. And while that is a very bold idea, not giving the player really any sort of direction during the beginning, I don't particularly mind it here because it kind of gives you a chance to just take in all of the world around you, which I should mention is absolutely gorgeous. The art style of this game is fantastic. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but I absolutely adore the art style on this game. Addressing spoilers for pretty much the only maybe 10-15 minutes of the game, you find yourself with a nice stick. Now this stick will be your weapon in the beginning until you get a sword a little bit later. This will allow you to at least defend yourselves until you get to what is known as the hero's tomb. Who this hero was is actually pretty shrouded in mystery at the beginning of the game, but speaking of the stick, we can get into the combat. It plays a lot like Zelda in the fact that you can lock onto enemies, but it doesn't move the camera around behind you. So a lot of games, when they do this kind of bird's eye view, they won't really let you lock onto an enemy, at least not, in older times, I guess you would say, but this game allows you to lock onto enemies. It's Z-targeting, essentially, and that allows you to, do your dodges in different directions and use your ranged weapons much more effectively. Various actions, such as dodging or blocking, will use the stamina bar, and health it's a health bar. You know what it does. There are also some magical items which will use mana naturally, but overall, the bulk of combat will be done with your stick, or sword later whenever you find it, and shield. And the shield is insanely powerful. There are some points in the game when the shield is damn near necessary to make it to the next part. I'd really like to talk about the story with you, but again, as I said, there's not really too much that I've seen so far. It is exceedingly vague. All that we know is that there is this kind of fox spirit that seems to be watching over us. Chat was going crazy. They were convinced that this was my mother. Why they would think that, I don't know, but the overall feel of the game is fantastic, and I actually really enjoy how they don't explain anything to you. You must explore, you must journey forth and figure out what you're doing based off of the context clues of the area, and I think that works out pretty well. My only real concern with this idea is that it can be a bit challenging for newer players, especially if you're not, quite as, I don't want to say good at video games as, you or I might be, but if you don't play as many video games, you're not going to know a lot of the tropes, so you may not have any idea where to go, and that can be a little bit overwhelming to a new player. I said we'd talk about the art style in a little bit, and I meant that. I love this art style. I think this is the kind of art style that's going to last the test of time. In my opinion, it's a little bit like Wind Waker in the fact that this art style will never really die off. This is going to look good for years to come. Yeah, it might need to be upscaled or something, but much like Wind Waker, this game will look just as pretty as it always has. These are truly timeless graphics. Also, I love whenever you run through a bush how the bushes are just like jello. I don't know, that's fun to me. I really like that. The enemy types so far do seem pretty diverse. Of course, they're all kind of your stereotypical enemies, but they're all here in their cutest form, given the art style. Again, love this art style. One more thing that I want to talk about while we're here is this manual, this old school style game manual that is essentially the most communication that the game really gives to you in an outright fashion. And while you can't read the manual yourself, it's, in kind of these strange letters that this new world possesses, it gives you just enough information. You really have to think about it, but it'll tell you, even the locations of enemies. And it's just such a good nod to, that retro feel of, opening up a game box and flipping through the manual, which I just adore. In the end, probably my favorite part about Tunic is just how the game absolutely oozes charm in every possible way. There are secrets and little nooks and crannies everywhere to be found, an intriguing story that is not just handed to you on a silver platter. You actually have to think about the story and look for the symbolism in the gameplay itself. You are just as lost as this poor little fox in this game, and I think that is an interesting way to handle it. I've really grown to enjoy my time with this game and can't wait to get back into it. Overall, I don't want to give Tunic a sort of rating, I just want to put the information into your hands and you can make the decision for yourself. With that said, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It does help me out an awful lot. Thank you to my patrons and Twitch supporters. We're playing this game over on Twitch as well. We stream 4 days a week starting at 3 p.m. PST. Anyway, I'm Newbornkilik and I will see you in the next Chill Chat. I'm out.